My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags.
All right. Be like those black guys. All right. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to our 11th episode.
11 already, huh?
Yeah, holy cow. Behind Enemy Lines. So, we have an interesting show. We want to start getting into some national stuff, but there's so much crazy garbage going on in the state of Illinois, especially in DuPage County and in Downers Grove Township Republican Organization, where we've got a lot of creeps that are kind of hanger-oners from the establishment days. That
RINOs.
They've had one consistent track record. It's been one consistent track record, which has been losing. They've been losing. so
They'll tell you they haven't.
There's a common denominator that's going on, and a lot of it has to tie back to the leadership. A lot of times we keep hearing that we have to play to the center, right? We have to worry about winning over Democratic votes.
Right.
So we're supposed to gravitate towards that way instead of representing what's important to us as Republicans and parents and Americans, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And you know, we hear a lot of whining that we do a lot of complaining, and some of that's probably true, but it's valid, right? It's valid. We've got our own politicians taking money from the enemies, giving money to the enemies, voting with the enemies, voting against our children. So yes, we're complaining, but we have to start talking about some solutions and try to get rid of the cancer, eradicate the cancer. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about how some of these establishment folks who tell us it's all about winning, right? But it's winning by their terms, right? It's not disrupting their little apple cart. So we're going to talk about some of the things that they did. Some of the things that they did to me personally, which I was grateful for, because it just only elevated my, I don't know, what do you call it? It elevated
platform.
me much more. I've got, Paul will talk about that a little bit later. I've got so much national media stuff coming up. I got a really important show next Wednesday. Everybody's got to watch on Mike Lindell TV. Everybody. There's going to be some very proud photographs and individuals that'll be seen on that show, thanks to Mike Lindell. And you know what a better show to be on than Mike Lindell about redemption.
Right.
You know, I got in trouble 35 years ago, and to some people it's been a secret, but to many it hasn't. Many, in my circle.
I mean, you weren't a crackhead though, so at least
I
you
was
got that
not
going
a
for you.
drughead. I was an entrepreneur, and so one of the problems that
Just a guy trying to make a buck. Come on.
Yeah, so I'm not proud of who. We'll talk about this a little later. I'm not proud of where I was. I'm proud of where I came and the things I've done to get where I'm at. And all the things I've done, many things that a lot of these people who thought they were coming after me.
What better way to redeem yourself than fight
Yeah.
for our kids? I mean, if anybody wants to criticize Terry, they should look at what he's been doing in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the balls to step up to the plate and fight for our kids. So
Yes.
I really don't
Thank
want to
you.
hear anything about his past.
So there's one thing. So you look at like how people are raised, and that kind of contributes towards some of
Yeah.
the things and the paths they take, right?
Sure.
So you got to remember, I'm half Italian, I'm half Polish. So as I grew up, the Italian side kept sucking me into crime. The Polish side kept getting me caught, so I had to get a real job eventually. But you can't hold that against me, right? It's the way I was raised.
You fought your ass off trying not to get a real job.
Yeah, it's
but-
like, God damn, I got to get a real job now. It's like, and then these guys exposed it. So anyway, with that said, we'll get to some of the serious stuff here. And we're glad to have Jeff Mack, our most popular guest,
Comedian.
host,
Well,
guest,
Nice to
whatever.
be back again.
Yeah, the poor guy's taking a lot of flack from us because of us, and we respect him and his wife and everybody. So we're glad to have him back. Is Val on the phone yet?
No, you didn't tell me to call.
Yeah, our
we-
producer's
he's-
called. Well, yeah, he could still
yeah.
listen in. But
Yeah.
we have Val Ojeda, who's considered another radical right winger. And if that means you're not a Rhino, so proud to be that. So we have something interesting that Paul wants to talk about, and I think it'll help a lot of people with motivation, excitement, and see hopefully we could turn the corner on some of this garbage that's been going on. So I'll pass it off to Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. So, I mean, we talk about it all the time. There's a bunch of RINOs in Illinois. They're owned by the Democrats. Obviously, the Democrats control Illinois. And Terry, myself, Jeff, we all advocate for a different approach on the Republican side. And we're constantly told, that our organization is the strongest Republican organization and they win all the time. Well, last time I checked, the Democrats hold a supermajority in Illinois. They got a 40-19 deficit in the Senate, 78-40 in the House. So they've lost the last two governor races. And folks, the most important thing is Illinois is a communist state, and I'm not being hyperbolic, right? We have laws. They've passed laws that violate our free speech, an anti-doxing law, right, where politicians have the right to litigate against citizens if they call out their names and their jobs. We have laws that violate parental rights. We have laws that allow the libraries in the schools and in the public libraries to propagandize, to introduce whatever they want, and the citizens have no ability to redress their grievances against this stuff, right? We've got the Cashless Bail Safety Act, which we see that is affecting us now. Right in Oak Brook, we had illegal immigrants, robbing a Macy's, and then they get let out the next day. How much more of that are we going to see in the suburbs, huh? And when are we going to see violent crimes come from that? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's only a matter of time. That happened in September. I mean, give it 6 months. So, we got Governor Pritzker introducing a Chinese energy company. Okay, he's driving away small businesses with all the red tape. He's driving away citizens with the crime and these communist policies that take away our rights. And he's letting China come in the front door. So what are the Republicans doing about it? What are they doing about the pornography in our schools? Terry's been pounding the pavement showing the graphic pornographic material that is available to our children. And what do we hear from our local township Republican organization? We don't want to talk about that stuff because then the Democrats will call us radicals. Oh, you mean the people that are putting porn into your kids' school? They're going to call us radicals. So we can't talk about that. So when we try to stand up at our local organization and talk about the people who are going to the school boards and who are going to the libraries and who are going to the village meetings and speaking out against this stuff, they call us radicals. They call us extremists. They call us anarchists. So let me just talk to you about a chain of events that happened. I'll pump through real quick. We had a committeeman named Scott Melrose, who bravely stood up at our Republican organization meeting, and he wanted a motion of vote to censure Republicans on the DuPage County Board who donated to Democrats, including the president of the DuPage County Board, and Kim Fox, the radical Soros-elected Cook County state prosecutor. And he was rebuked. He was basically turned away. As far as I can tell, the Robert's Rules of Order, the parliamentary rules of order were broken. So
he was an anarchist. Novak called him an anarchist.
An anarchist. So the chairman then invited these two county board members to the next meeting where they were indignant about the uniparty that they represented, and acted as if they did nothing wrong.
So let me inject, because here's how these RINOs respond to that. I think Torratore is still on the county board.
Yeah.
Paczynski was, but he's not. Yeah, he's appointed on something. So you got guys like Bolzo. Well, he's not even on the board anyway. Or they also say, well, it's not our problem. No, we're part of DuPage County.
We're part of DuPage County.
So you got that's how bad these guys are.
And what are we going to ignore the fact that we have our own representatives donating to Democrats, including one of the worst Democrats that is, that's an advocate for the Safety Act, the cashless bail, that's going to increase crime in our state and put people's families in danger. So we're not going to call that out just because they got an R in front of their name? No, that's not Republicanism, okay? And the only thing that these people are defending is their own interest, their own power, their own control. Guys like Greg Boltz, who goes around and talks about how he does all this stuff for the cause. No, he does it for himself.
Right.
To get himself reelected as assessor. We're supposed to pass our petitions in to this guy and listen to him invoke God into politics. The most dishonest thing anybody can do. God's not on your side because you're a Republican, Greg. God's not on your side at all when you go behind people's backs. You try to expose their background and dox their family and associate them with sex offenders. That's what this guy did to Terry, okay? So Terry and I spoke out against this at the next meeting. We get a standing ovation because people are tired of the status quo. People are tired of communist agenda being rained down upon us by Democrats in our state and Republicans who let it happen. So we got a standing ovation. You could tell like people were just, they're clamoring for this type of message, right? So what does Jack Novak, our chairman, do the very next meeting? He removes the committeeman comments section from the meeting. I believe that's called censorship. And now,
so just so you know, by the way, him and Boltz were going around saying we disrupted the meeting. Well, that standing ovation didn't look like a disruption to me, Boltz, Novak.
Well, of course we disrupted the meeting. We've got leaders who don't advocate for the constituents in the Republican Party. We've got leaders who are going to defend Republicans who donate to the enemy, and I call them the enemy because they're communists. Why are they communists? I don't know. They're attacking the Bill of Rights, right? They want to centralize everything.
Well, you got called out for referring to them as Marxists.
I did. I gave a speech at another meeting where I got another standing ovation where I referred to the Democrats as Marxists, and then Jack Novak told me, good speech, but I wouldn't have added the Marxist thing in it. Well, that's because you're incompetent. That's because you're politically illiterate, and you don't understand what you're talking about. Most importantly, you don't understand the gravity of the situation that we have in Illinois and in the country. Communism is here. I don't know if you heard of something called the Twitter files, okay? The government is restricting freedom because we're calling out the fact that they're corrupt.
Even with
us. And they've been restricting freedom.
Even with us on social media, right?
We've got it. We've been banned from Facebook. I don't know how many times. How big are we?
Yeah.
How big are we? And we've been banned from Facebook? How does that even make sense?
COVID restrictions or some
they banned
stuff.
me. All I did was posted the video.
So as a reaction to the fact that we were censored by Jack Novak, the chairman of our local Republican organization, Terry put out a farcical dictator meme with Jack's likeness, right? Now, there was backlash. Terry stood up for himself. He criticized the establishment on the next podcast because of this backlash. And he went after a couple of officials. And rightly so, because we have Republicans censoring other Republicans and sticking up for Republicans who are donating to Kim Foxx, a Soros-elected state prosecutor. Like, in what universe is it not okay to call out this collusion with the Democrat Party when we're supposed to be representing Republican voters? We have people doing that kind of stuff. Like, of course, people are going to speak out against it, and then you censor it, and you say, because, no, we're Team Republican. No. I'm Team Freedom, okay? And I'm only Team Republican if those Republicans are standing up for the Republican values, and they are not, including you, Jack Novak.
He's going to censure us, but not the guys that are given to our enemies.
Not the guys who are given to our enemies.
Well, those donations, I think, to a lot of people felt like a betrayal.
It is a betrayal.
We're out there in the trenches. We're working hard trying to get these people elected. They get elected, and then they're donating money to our opposition.
You got everyday
and then when it
Joes
comes back against us.
You got everyday Joes and Janes pounding the pavement, struggling to pay their mortgages and their bills because of this Bidenomics, and you got these people donating to the people that are making our country worse, and then we can't call it out. So again, Terry came out and he called it out, right? And so what happened? There was a lot of threats in the background. That Terry was told that he has to apologize, he has to do this and that he shouldn't have been calling these people out. Hey, they're going to send the cops to your house. What happens? They sent the cops to his house. So because of political speech in Illinois, in DuPage County, the state police came to a man's house to intimidate him and threaten him and scare his family because of political speech at the local level. This is the problem we're dealing with. But we're not going to stop because we know our rights, and we have every right to call out the establishment for colluding and being corrupt, which is exactly what they are. So we fought back against this yet again, criticizing the establishment on our next podcast, calling their bluff. There's no reason you can arrest him. He's exercising his First Amendment right. So what you did was just authoritarian tactics to try to silence him. So what happened after that? They didn't give up then. Greg Boltz decided that he was going to use some Antifa tactics, and he put together a doxing packet on Terry with Terry's entire background, right? And not only that, but within this packet, these people, they will stoop to no end. They put in sex offenders that lived in Terry's neighborhoods.
But I don't think Bolts can stoop far. He won't get back up again.
But he works so hard, right, Terry? He works so hard. He works so hard inviting people to churches to intimidate them politically and then get them to do what he wants them to do, right? And also, so that he can get his pension, because if he wins another term, right, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So this is what Republicans do to other Republicans who criticize them. They associate them with sex offenders. Then they pass around that material, trying to diminish his character.
Family's name.
Yeah,
Family's names.
Put his family's names in there. Dox his family's
ages,
names.
Date of births.
Ages, date of births, backgrounds. And he put his family's names, his son, his daughter, his wife, his mother, his father, and then right alongside that, a bunch of sex offenders. This is what they'll do to you for criticizing them for being corrupt. So, look, we came here today to make a big announcement. And it's what I've seen in Illinois since becoming part of this thing a couple of years ago is that the establishment is broken, that especially the Republican establishment has no will to fight because they're controlled by the Democrats. We have a senator, a state Senate minority leader in John Curran, who went around last year before the election telling us that Amendment 1, which gives plenary authority to the state union or the public unions in Illinois to collectively bargain on economic welfare and safety, which makes them, gives them essentially legislative power at this point, right? So definition of communism, right? Strengthening and widening the government as far as you can imagine.
Yeah, what it actually does is put some beyond the reach of the legislature.
Exactly. And what I would argue is partner with the legislature.
Well,
because
yeah,
the
you're probably
legislature
right
is
there.
controlled by the Democrats, and they gave them that bone. So he went around saying that he advocated for that, saying that this isn't the hill to die on. Okay? He voted for it. And then mysteriously, he runs unopposed in a D+3.
Well,
in
we know
Sean
why.
Casten's backyard.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder why that would be. Next thing you know, he wins election, of course, and he becomes state Senate minority leader. Does this guy stick up for Republican values? So what we come to realize is this is a uniparty. The Republicans in Illinois, they're just going to do the bidding of the Democrats so that they can get a seat at the table. They're not going to stick up for Republican values. More importantly, they're not going to be part of a representative government that sticks up for the values of everyday working people who walk the pavement and pass out their petitions, for people to sign so that they can get them elected. When I first started working for the Downers Grove Township Republican Organization as a contracted consultant, I tried to explain that we need to call out the radicalism of the left. There's pornography in our schools. There's gender ideology in our schools. It's in the libraries. There's critical race theory in the libraries. There's a communist agenda at work. We should at least, have a podcast. Write articles, put it out to people, let people know what's going on. If you don't tell people what's in the schools, they're not going to know. Oh, no, Paul, we don't want the Democrats to call us radicals. We have to appeal to the middle. Well, Jack Novak, chairman, and all other Republicans in DuPage County, there's a little thing called the Overton window. What you don't understand because you're politically incompetent is that the left is actually very savvy politically, and they understand what the Overton window is, which is what's politically acceptable in a society, a culture, a nation, any political landscape. And what the Democrats or the leftist or the Marxists or the communists have done is they've shifted that Overton window to the left on the political spectrum. And so what you think is the middle is not the middle. In order to get us to the middle, we have to advocate for Republican values, for conservative values. Right now, we're on the hard left. The hard left. The Democrats, the liberals, whatever you want to call them, they own the institutions. They own the institutions. They own the media. They own education. They own wide swaths of government, entertainment, and now they own most of corporate interests. So what does that tell you? You know, I saw an article from some former Republican mayor that's running for county board, like the Republicans have lost their way. So the bottom line is we've lost Republican values in Illinois, and we have to start at the foundation. You start building the house with the foundation. That's the Downers Grove Township Republican Organization. That's how we're going to get this country back. Okay? So today, I'm announcing that I will oppose Jack Novak for chairman of Downers Grove Township Republican Organization because I want to give a voice to the people. I want to give a voice to the people. I want to give a voice to the committeemen. I want to give a voice to the committeemen who go out to every one of those library board meetings, those school board meetings, the village council meetings, and stick up for our kids and stick up for conservative family values. And in the organization that I run, they'll be welcome. Not only that, we will form a coalition and everybody will be encouraged to go to these meetings. Because when these people go to these meetings, there's only a few of them. And they're getting called radicals and extremists and anarchists by the Democrats, by the liberals that show up these meetings in much higher numbers. And why?
Free speech, emails. What about that? Talk about that. What would you do?
Why? Because their own leaders in their own party are calling them that. That's why the liberals feel like, oh, they're crazies, they're radicals. Only a few of them show up. They're not progressive, and that's the way forward.
So good job. So think about this real quickly, and Paul talked about it, right? So this, hey, Chicky, thanks.
I'm off my high horse.
The Terry Newsom dossier that Chicky called it, right?
Yeah.
So these clowns, this is how incompetent these clowns are that put this hit piece on me, right? Page 1, Southern Poverty and Law Center, hit piece story on me. So Moms for America, Moms for Liberty, No Left Turn, Parents Involved in Education, Matt Gates, they're all in the Southern Poverty and Law Center hit piece. The story that was written by me was written by an Antifa associate named Jeff Tischler. He wrote a hit piece on me, right? So what does Novak and Bolts do? They use Antifa propaganda. Southern Poverty and Law Center is funded by George Soros, right? Radical leftists. It's a joke. I was told when I was down in D.C. meeting with Mike Lee and all their staff and stuff, I was upset about it. And everyone's like, oh, that's a badge of honor. So these clowns that are from Downers Grove Township put Southern Poverty and Law Center story about me. The next page, they put pictures from the Sedition Hunters website. If you do a search under Sedition Hunters and Antifa, that came out this week. That website is ran by Antifa, and they had pictures of people that were at January 6th. Peaceful, not peaceful, people that fought with the police, that shouldn't have fought with the police. They're all in there. I'm in there as well, right? I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't fight with anyone. I didn't go in. I didn't even yell at anyone. I didn't break anything. I was back at my hotel before I even knew people went in. So what is Novak and Bolts and whoever else? I got more coming out on these clowns, right? So yeah, so it's gonna be national, right? You guys punched me in the face. The fight just started. It's only beginning. So what do they do? They put pictures in there from Sedition Hunters and an Antifa website. So they're using Antifa propaganda to come after me. You know why? Because they're not Republicans.
Wait, so they donate to the Democrats. and they work with the Antifa Democrats to smear their own Republican.
Yeah, they're so incompetent. They don't even know. You know that elevated my profile. I got so many. I want to be in dime. I got you'll talk about it later. I got so many shows. You guys, we just started this war, right?
Oh, it's
and we need to start. We need guys like Paul to get in there. We need strong committeemen like Jeff and some of the others. We're going to talk about that right now. We also have big Val on. Is he on right now?
Yeah.
Hey, Val, are you on?
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, buddy.
How you doing, Tim?
So this is my my other crazy buddy, Val Ojeda, the political operative who's running 10,000 gazillion candidates across the state, and he's
across the country, by the way.
Yeah, across the country, and so he's going to chime in here before we have commentary from you, Val. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening to Jeff, our good friend Jeff, Chicky Briner, and Paul. Paul was the shining star of DGTRO. Oh, they want him to run for office.
Big plans for me, they said.
Yeah, congratulations for stepping up, man. Get that cocksucker.
Hey, wait, Val,
Family show, Val.
So we had a bunch of committeemen over here this week, and a couple of ladies, I know you're watching, they wanted me to clean my language up. So
you're doing
I
a good
promised
job,
to do
Terry.
that.
You're doing a good job.
So Val, you got to clean it up a little bit too, right? So I'm trying to be softer.
They didn't challenge you though.
Softer, yeah, they didn't challenge. You know what?
Yet.
Hey, Bolts. Yeah. I hope you get someone to challenge me. Novak, you clowns! I beat your guy 62-30. I'm good friends with him. So, as a matter of fact, the guy signed my petition. The guy I ran against, really nice guy. Get someone to run against me. You know what? I went to all my neighbors already, and I showed them the packet. I told them what you did. You know what that's going to do? It's going to affect the candidates that you guys are supporting.
Yeah.
Your own candidates. They're pissed off at you guys. They think you're despicable.
Jack Novak's running around telling people that we're bullies. Last time I checked, you're the one with the podium, pal. You're the one telling 100+ committeeman members that they can't speak. Because
he's like this at the podium.
Because we disrupt the organization. I mean, look, Jack's going through some stuff right now, and I feel for him, but this isn't personal. The only people that have made this personal is the Republican leadership in Downers Grove and in DuPage County and a little bit in Illinois against Terry, because Terry's speaking the truth. He's telling people what's going on in our state. I mean, Jeff, so let's bring you in here for a minute. Like, you and I work closely. You and I work closely with, we'll just call it the establishment. And we work pretty hard on some texting campaigns, and you're a data guy. You did a lot of data work for us. Now, you've been around Downers Grove a long time, right?
Well, I grew up in Downers Grove.
You grew up in Downers Grove, and your wife Mary, lovely Mary, has been involved in the in the organization.
She was involved before I was, and I was kind of conscripted into it, and then
wives tend to do that.
And then I
kind of
took
thing.
her committeeman seat, so she said, "Why don't you take it for a while?" And I was okay.
So look, Terry and I get on here and we rant all the time about what's going on. Why don't you give us your perspective on what you've seen play out over these last couple of years?
Well, I think we have a leadership that's in collapse is what really the problem is. And, you start poking the bear, and if the bear is wounded, the bear's going to really lash out at you. And that's, I think, what's happening. That obviously you don't have to be too astute to realize that the Republican Party in Illinois is in total collapse, and it's taking DuPage with it.
Total collapse, I agree.
And DuPage is coming down with it.
Yeah.
And we've lost 4 county officers. We've lost the county board. I believe we've lost the Forest Preserve. What's left?
I think when Brian used to be around, Brian Kajewski, we had school boards under our control, right?
I think we did.
Then.
Yeah.
Well, and during our tenure in that fight, I think last school board election, the GOP lost 74% of the races.
Right? Yeah, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
That was our chairman,
but
Jack Novak's that was his supposedly supposed to be his big accomplishment, was to get these text campaigns out there so we could win the school board races, right?
Yeah, well, I think Jack, to his credit, he started getting the organization involved in the school board races, which traditionally hadn't been done before.
What I would say, though, is that why is anybody going to care if you don't tell them what's happening in the schools?
Well, that's the thing, and what you touched on before, they don't want to talk about it. And
They don't want to talk about it.
and the problem I have with that is that we have nothing to hide with our position on this. And the people that are perpetrating this grooming and sexualization of our kids have everything to hide. We don't have to be ashamed of our position, but they do. But our leadership doesn't want to touch it for some
From
reason.
a pragmatic perspective, it's a winning argument politically.
Absolutely is.
The only reason you wouldn't highlight that the Democrats are advocating for the sexualization of children is because you have no political will. That's just the facts. It's just the facts, you know?
And one of the things that drives me has gotten me more involved in this. I think I mentioned to you before. One of the things, I would get upset. I'd be like, railing against what I'm hearing on the TV or seeing locally.
Yeah.
And Mary's like, I'm tired of hearing you if you're not going to get out and start to do something about
Good old
it.
Mary.
I'm like,
She's right, Jeff.
well, I got to put up or
you
shut
keep
up
your
now,
nose
you
in
know?
there now. Yeah.
So, but I'm so tired of seeing the Republicans constantly ceding ground to the Democrats.
Yeah.
And that's the Overton window keeps
Right,
moving, and
right.
the only reason it's moved as far as it has is because the Republicans have allowed it to happen.
Right.
The Democrats
slack.
dig their heels in; they never give ground.
They let Madigan eat him alive for 40 years, and they never did anything about it.
Right.
Probably mostly because he was giving them a bone. The guy's in power, you know.
Yeah. Well, we have a tough row to hoe because we don't have the media, we don't have
Right.
all those institutions that to get our message out. So it's a tough hill to climb, but I think it's doable. I mean, other jurisdictions are doing it.
Do we have Val?
We lost him.
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's
can
okay.
you show these pictures I just sent you?
We'll ask Val about this. I'm gonna. You want me to talk? I'm gonna talk about the Nikki thing.
So you can't show a picture right now?
Could if I could find my glasses.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Talk about that.
So now here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about that. The landscape has changed, right? The political landscape has changed. These guys, as far as I can tell, when I talk to the leadership, when I was working as consultant with these people, they had no concept for new media. The podcast, era. The podcast era is here. The alternative media landscape on the right is booming. You got your.
Yep.
Let me. For example, let me just list some of the shows that Terry has been on, and if you're at all familiar with the alternative media landscape, especially in conservative world, you're going to be surprised. Terry's been featured on shows and in articles from the Epoch Times, from Real America's Voice that hosts Steve Bannock's War Room, RSBN, OANN, Diamond and Silk, Mark McCloskey, Lindell TV. He's doing an interview with Tom Renz, Ann Vandersteel, Newsmax, and Lara Logan, a former 60 Minutes news correspondent. Okay, Terry is national. He has got a national media presence. Okay, millions. Terry's message is getting out to millions of people. Now, here's how competent the Downers Grove Township Republican Organization leadership, the DuPage County Republican leadership, the Illinois Republican leadership is. Nikki Conforti is running against far-left Marxist Democrat Sean Casten, which is in our own backyard, lives in Downers Grove, who advocates for taking away parents' rights and the sexualization of our children. Terry and I actually sat in front row and argued with him about this, and he had no points whatsoever, and he even weaponized the Capitol Police against Terry. So she's running against that guy, right, for House Representatives, and she tells Terry that she didn't want his fundraising event. Number one, she didn't even call him. She texted him the day of and said that she was sick and she couldn't make it. And then we come to find out through our contacts that she was told to stay away from Terry. So let me make a couple of points on this. And I've never even spoken to Nikki. I have no bone to pick with her. I have nothing against her. I've seen her speak. I don't think she's an impressive politician. I wouldn't vote for her because of that, because I don't think she has a chance, and I don't think she's saying the right things. But the point is, it's more because she doesn't understand politics. You are going to distance yourself because other people told you from a guy who can get you national media coverage?
Incompetent other people.
I mean, so, and then the leadership, are they for you? Are they for your voice? People listening, committeemen listening, when they tell a candidate that's running against a guy who advocates to sexualize your children that they shouldn't talk to Terry, who get them national media coverage. Terry's the only shot she had. She never had a shot in the first place because they're going to dump millions of dollars on Sean Casten.
So when Paul says shot, I soften up Casten, just like in the newspaper stories and stuff. We hold them accountable.
And Terry knows people in that media space. She could have got her interviews, but she's too incompetent politically to understand that, A, and B, that the people that are influencing her on the other side aren't doing her any favors and don't want her to win because of that. The only result that I can imagine is that they don't want her to win, because why would they deny her?
You're not supposed to say her name.
Oh yeah, and then she told you're running for. She told Terry that you don't have permission to say my name, Nikki. Again,
Nikki Conforti.
Nikki Conforti.
Nikki Conforti's campaign. I was not supposed to say
You're
that.
running for public office.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. You don't have a chance. You don't have a chance because you don't understand politics. Like, politics is media. They're intertwined.
Maybe you know what could help her is if she gets, you know how they have they wrap those buses? She could put a Nikki Conforti bus wrap around bolts and he walks around DuPage County.
Well,
He's got to raise money for
You're
that.
slipping again, buddy. You're
well,
slipping here.
I mean.
Now,
Culture's all-
I saw you on America's Mom. You were on yesterday, I believe it was.
Yeah. I was
And
like,
you were really good.
That's a big
you really
show.
behaved yourself.
Hey, culture's always the way to people's heart. Maybe they could, do like a Jabba the Hutt, and she could be Princess Leia thing.
Don't let
Go,
him
hey, but you know what, Nikki, go with Greg Bolts. Go with Greg Bolts. Go with Greg Bolts. Don't get any media coverage.
Yeah.
You know, spin your wheels. It's cool. Sean Casten will destroy
So
you.
let's go back. Let's go back to our friend Jeff.
Yeah.
Chicky Briner and yourself, right? All victims, because these people are.
Oh yeah, another
not
running
siding
committeeman
with them.
against us.
So we have this guy who works really hard, not just as a committeeman in the community. He works in the office, right? And
Oh yeah,
and
Jack
does
used
all
to yell
kinds
at him.
of stuff.
Yeah,
Jack used to yell at him because he didn't work hard
he and
enough
I-
for free.
Chicky Briner, same thing. Both very
yeah.
passionate, seasoned, people at what they do.
Chick was
and
an
like
area
leaders.
chair.
And so these guys, we have all these open areas, right? I guess you could appoint loops and like they could appoint somebody.
Lisa,
But
they
what?
won't appoint Lisa because she sits with us at a table.
Yeah. So we have another person, Lisa, who sits at our table, right? We have all these open areas, right? That they could appoint somebody that go out and work for us to help us try to talk to people to win elections. What does Bolts do? He refuses him and Novak, because she's close to me or sits at our table or for whatever, right? Refuses to appoint her because of his own personal politics, not because he cares about winning. He's not appointing Lisa to fill in an open spot to go campaign for our people because she's not going to help us. He doesn't want her to be in that spot because he doesn't like her. That's just another piece of evidence why these guys need to go. We need to hire new people.
I was in the military. If you're going to fight an enemy, you've got to oppose them.
Yeah.
It's kind of a simple concept. Like, this is what I used to hear from Jack, like, oh, we've got to go after the middle. You wouldn't know the middle if it sat on your face. I mean, you got to pull back to the right. That's where the middle is.
You don't even have the right.
You don't have the right. You don't have the right. You don't even have Republicans voting for you. Again, 40-19 deficit in the state Senate, 78-40 in the state House, lost the last two governorships to the most unlikable governor in all of America, who's trying to sexualize your kids, take away your First Amendment, take away your guns, and is a billionaire. Like, and a billionaire who literally was on a campaign commercial during his first run negotiating over the phone with Rod Blagojevich for the Barack Obama state Senate seat. And he won. I mean, I could argue that was a crime.
So I want to read something real quickly here, right? That we saw on Twitter today. I think somebody sent it to us about Durkin takes himself out of the race, and they're blaming Trump. Brandon Johnson's blaming Trump, right? For all the crazy stuff that's happening, right? So here's a couple posts that were, most Illinois Republicans are really Democrats that lean towards being a Republican. This is a result of weak leadership in the Illinois Republican Party. We don't really need them to run anyway. There's so many.
Sounds like what we've been saying all along.
Yeah.
Illinois Republicans don't exist. At least at the elected level, they don't exist. They are a tool of the Democrats. Whether it's not a conspiracy thing. Look, again, I've listed the stats time and time again. It's just a matter of political will. They don't have one because they don't have any message. They don't have any strategy. You don't have Republicans, Jack. You don't have the middle because you don't have Republicans. Republicans don't want to come out and vote for people who aren't going to fight for them. That's the bottom line. If you're not even going to address the issues, then why are people going to give a shit?
So I want to jump in and show how bad things are getting in our schools for people. Some of you people know, right? This
is good. Yeah.
So there's a couple new things that they're doing, right? So we had a video of they hired a contractor to come in. We don't know how much she made about teaching the kids about their pronouns and stuff. They hired a person to come out, lesbian, to do that. So just this week, I think, or was it this week at Downers Grove North? Mm-hmm. So put up this tattooed dude, he, him, shirt, she, whatever it is. Yeah, there we go. So that everyone knows these are. I don't even know. They're like the transgender pastor from Methodist Church. I don't know. He, him, or she, her, him, what, that.
Well,
so that's
get confused with
that's
that.
he, her, him, that in the back. Look at that guy. It looks like a dude that just walked out of Stateville prison, for crying out loud. So that person in the back of the he, him pasture is in our Downers Grove schools teaching children over health class. So I want you guys to, whoever's listening to this, right? We're not getting help to help our kids into schools. So there's that person right there. And if you look closely, they're teaching them, if you can see on the screen there, what does that say? Understanding sexual orientation, identity, and gender something. One of the things they're teaching the kids is about LGBTQ flags. What is a pride flag? What is a transgender flag? Mm-hmm. What is a pangender flag? Well, maybe they should learn flags.
Looks like Greg Boltz with a shaved head.
Yeah. Well, what about the United Nations flags or something like that? So these people are coming in our schools, and we got our party's staying quiet. John Curran, right? That I keep going after him. You mentioned about Amendment 1. He took like $300,000 from the unions, voted for Amendment 1.
Oh, I missed that part.
More importantly, it was like the Illinois Teachers Association. I just looked them up. This week, right? And you know what they stand for? Equity, right? You know what equity is in the school, right?
Yeah.
They're against book banning parents. That means we don't want porn. We're not against gay books. We're not against LGBT kids. We're against oral. You guys saw my posters, right? I'm proud of those posters. Yeah. I'm being sarcastic. That's what the left says. We don't want oral sex, kinky sex, anal sex, all that crazy stuff. But you want to have books for those kids? Have those books for those kids. Another thing, guess who else they support? Sean Casten, Brandon Johnson, the crazy mayor from Chicago. They're pro LGBTQ books, which in their terms means pro porn. So think about it. Our senator took $30,000 from this radical leftist teachers union. For 2 years, I nicely pleaded with this guy. Please say something for us. Please. Oh, Terry, it becomes political if I get involved.
Wait, a politician told you can't say something because it's too political.
So then he doesn't. Then he talks about he doesn't. He's in a D+3. He's in a D+3, right? What do you mean? What does it matter? You worked out a deal by taking all this money that Madigan and those guys won't put anyone up against you.
Right.
So there's no 3-0. You just did. You made a deal.
And you know what? If he had a good conscience, if this guy had a good conscience, you're in for 6 years, right? Or what is it? I'm sorry, maybe it's 4 years. In
Yeah, with the state senate, I think
4
it
years.
might be 4.
So
yeah.
I mean, you got 4 years, right? Like, if you had a good conscience, start talking about this stuff. Start pointing it out. I mean, you'll get media coverage because you're already state senate minority leader. You know, you could do the right thing. You could come out and admit that there's pornography in the schools, John Curran. You could come out and you could speak out against. You could call the Democrats what they are. You could call them communists. You could speak out against.
All I
J.B.
want him to
Pritzker.
say is porn's not good in our kids' school. That's all I asked for.
Well, I think the problem is he knows very well that the transgender agenda is first and foremost a political agenda.
Yeah.
And he has chosen his side.
yeah,
Right.
He did.
And it's not
His
our side.
silence. The silence means
Right. It is first and
The left
foremost.
said
It's a
silence is
Marxist agenda.
violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
But
is a
that's why
Marxist
he won't talk about it, because he's chosen his side and he doesn't want to admit it.
Jeff, and that's a good point, right? Like, because we get painted as bigots and homophobes and whatnot. It's like, I don't, whatever. You do whatever you want behind closed doors. All I want to say is that all of this is being done to divide us, right? In Evanston,
That's why I say it's a Marxist agenda.
It is a Marxist agenda, and it's, divide and conquer. In Evanston, they're encouraging minority kids to segregate themselves into different classes. Now, they can't do it because of the Discrimination Act. They can't force it, but they're encouraging it. They put it out there. So now the Democrats are back to segregating. I mean,
We had separate graduations for black and white people at Harvard.
separate graduations for black and white people at Harvard. I mean, so we're the bigots and the racists, but they advocate for segregation again. What's next, Democrats? You're going to put black and white water fountains in schools? Like, this is easy stuff to figure out. It's not about it's actually not about a culture war. You hit the nail on the head. It's political. What they understand is divide and conquer equals political power. That's all it is.
Can we get him back on?
We got is he on?
Let's see if we can get
My
it back
phone
on.
dropped.
I mean, I'd like to get his opinion on the Nikki Conforti
But
thing.
while we're waiting, go ahead and tell us, what would you do? What do you think we need to do different? You've been around for a long time.
Yeah. Like,
Well, I think we need to start, first of all, speaking up. And we have to stand on our values and our principles and not keep trying to hide them and retreat from them.
right.
You know, if we keep letting the Democrats control the conversation, that's all people are going to hear, and they won't see our side of it.
Yeah.
And we keep sliding into that Overton window as it drags us further and further,
Further and
left
further left.
as a society.
Right.
And, if we don't start standing on these principles and insisting that, we're not going to have these things going on in the schools and all this craziness, then, we've already lost if we don't start standing up and digging our heels in.
Yeah.
That's how the Democrats do it.
What do you think about our own local organization, how it could improve? Because, I mean, to me, if you look at the way it's run, it's very top down.
Sorry about
You
that.
know,
It is. It
I
is.
mean,
I apologize.
I think like if you could get people more involved in the process instead of telling them, hey, just go make sure this Republican gets voted for. Make sure you get signatures for this. Like, they're just dictating to people what they should do,
Well, I think people also need to understand an overall platform of what our beliefs and our principles are.
Yeah.
That isn't really a part of how DGTRO operates.
No.
You have the candidates, and everybody has to work for the candidates. But do we really have a platform as an organization saying these are the principles we support?
No.
These are our values as an organization? I've never seen it.
I mean, they spend over 20 grand a year on just rent for this office downtown. And what have they got now?
How many votes? have
Well,
we got?
How many
here's
school
an
board
interesting
seats did
thing
they
about
win?
that. I did a cursory view of it. I didn't do a deep dive, but the local Democrat organization seems to spend somewhere around half of what we spend.
Wait a second.
We spend 2 to 3 times what
Hold
they
on.
spend.
Hold the phone. Wait. You're telling me the Democrats are more fiscally responsible than the Republicans?
Well, it would appear so. If you look
What are
at
we
the,
doing?
if
What are we doing? This
they don't
guy's
spend that much.
Jack. What? Come on, man. First of all, you censor people. You spend. Okay, to put a exclamation point on that, I sat in a room where the consultant organization that we had hired, which also cost money, by the way, a few $1,000s from what I remember. That organization had a very, very talented, smart young man present to us our expenditures in a PowerPoint, and he broke it down very simply, and he tried to say like, well, the best thing to do would be to cut costs. Like, do you need this many office supplies that you're spending $5,000, every a quarter on, and the over $20,000 in rent? And Jack was like, no, that's not negotiable. We need to be here because it's downtown and it gives us a presence. Well, I talked to many committeemen who was like, I didn't even know that place existed.
Well,
It's not how many votes do we get?
we pay $2,100 a month for that space, and it is vacant at least 90% of the time. Nobody's there. Now about a block down the street, the Democrats have their office. It's a little out of the way. It's about half the rent. And they seem to have a lot of people coming and going. So what is their secret to that kind of engagement? So but I frequently see people in there. A lot of times, I walk around the neighborhood a lot just for exercise, and frequently, there's lights on and people in there.
Yeah.
So we're always dark.
Right.
I mean, that changes around election time, of course, but
I think as we go forward, part of I heard that I heard from many different people that getting rid of lots of people want to get rid of Novak, right? I mean, they're like, well, who are we going to replace him? Who's going to take over? Well, we have an answer to that question now, but even before that happened, think about it, folks. It change is not easy, right? It's they're comfortable. They got all these old establishment people kind of shuffling the deck.
Oh wait,
moving.
Talk about how when Jack came in, Jack was supposed to be the answer to this Greg Bolt's goofball, right?
Yeah.
I sat in a room with Jack and leadership of the current organization where they were like, the whole point was to move on from Greg Boltz. Yeah, that's right, Greg. Jack was supposed to take you out of the equation. I mean, I'm just telling you what I sat and listened to, and then so Greg tried to become an area chair. It's like they booted him out of that. So now, okay, you're such a savvy leader. You've got to bring in the guy who you were trying to get rid of to help you put out the fires. Well, nobody's going to help you because we're going to take down Bolts too because it's just easy because he's just been so unlikable over the years, so manipulative, and so untrustworthy. I mean, trust me, we've got a whole thing coming out on Greg Bolts. Can't wait. Greg, you like to stay in the background? No, pal. You want to throw some fisticuffs? You're going to have to stay in the squared circle. The fight's over.
Yeah, I've been kind of quiet on this show because all my talking is going to be done at the national level. So we'll see who's going to have the last laugh.
I mean, it's so nice that you have that national reach because I don't know what they thought they were doing. Like I talked to a guy who's seasoned vet in the organization, and he was like, "Man, they poked the wrong bear with Terry. I'll tell you what. They better be very
kind
afraid."
of Trumpian when it comes to that stuff.
Oh yeah. He's very media savvy. This guy.
Yeah.
So. Well, what do we want to talk about? Anything else?
Yeah. So
I guess Val's off.
Listen, we're not going to dump on these jamokes. They're not worth our time anymore. We just wanted to make sure we wanted to respond to what they did last week. What they did was awful. All the leadership, everybody in leadership was involved. They all know it. I know it.
We have evidence.
Yeah, I got evidence.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, guys.
And we've got sources.
Yeah, we got evidence, sources, films, comments, text messages, and.
There was surveillance.
Yeah. And then what's funny is the night it happened.
They're not even smart.
Yeah, the night it happened, somebody approached Larissa, and this is how dumb this person is. First of all, she had her camcorder. Her camcorder was aimed at me, hidden off to the side, thinking I was going to go crazy over. I was upset. I was angry, right? To list my mom and my dad's names, my daughters, my brother and their children, and their date of birth and their ages and everything, and all that stupid sexual offender crap I have nothing to do with. And then try to think they're going to destroy me for something I did 35 years ago. It's absurd. I changed my life, and so I was mad. I was pissed off more about my family, and then thinking these guys are supposed to be Republicans. So somebody came up to me at the very end, a senior person there, and he was offended. And I would consider him an establishment person, like a likable guy.
Well, by definition, he's a
yeah. And he actually approached Larissa, and then here's her answer. All these two strange ladies came walking in at 6:15. She got there at 6. She got there at 5:48, I think. I got it all on tape, just so you know. And then Bolts came waddling in with his little cane around 6:04, and then all the stuff suddenly popped up on the tables after that point. The Terry Newsom dossier with all this garbage and yes, my history, but so they're trying to deny it. And when this person asked Larissa, well, why didn't you pick this up, this Terry dossier? And her answer was, oh, I thought it was his resume.
35-page resume.
And the top page is Southern Poverty Law Center, right? So that Jamoke just admitted her guilt, and then that was her camera. She had her camera aiming at me, thinking she was going to catch me with the secret cam on camera going off. Well, it didn't happen, honey. So by her saying that is an admission of her guilt. And then we had Lorraine and somebody else that went to the managers and said, oh, there's these two bad guys that are going to...
Threatening people on their
there's
podcast.
two bad guys that are going to come in and they got a podcast and they're threatening people on the podcast and don't let them have the videos. Well, I got the videos, you jamokes. I got the videos, right? And they told me exactly what you said.
Screenshots,
it's
we got them all
you're nuts,
saved. We got it all
right?
saved.
And then,
Greg, you're
geez.
an idiot. You're an idiot. You're like, here's how I know you're an idiot. Like, all these mistakes are just compounded on top of each other. These people have clearly never been challenged from within, but the idea that you shouldn't be challenged is crazy.
Did you send me
Like,
that
you
text or no?
advocate
I'll find
for
it from here.
people who donate to Democrats and Kim Fox.
I got it.
Like,
I sent it on Signal.
the emperor has no clothes,
Oh my God!
Oh,
don't
do you
tell me
want to
that.
read it? Yeah,
I got to read
Let's
this.
expose
I'm so
Greg
sorry.
a little bit for.
I got So
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
let me find this here. So Jeff's wife Mary. Oh God, I respect you. She went in full mama bear mode, right?
Yeah, she
Before this meeting started, it was like
That's good,
hilarious. And then, so all these documents, the Terry Newsom dossier was picked up before the meeting started, and I'm trying to find this text, which I think you sent it on Signal.
Yeah.
Okay. Signal here. Let me see here. I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. Son of a bitch. Just to me or to everybody?
To the group,
text.
the three of us.
To the group. To the three.
Where is it?
Here, I'll look for
Behind enemy lines.
Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, there we go. There we go.
there it
All right, so listen, this is kind of funny, right? You guys got to listen to this text message very carefully. So remember, Bolts had something to do with this. He's saying he doesn't, right? And he always sits at the tables, but he sat in the back because he was doing petitions, right? He snuck and tucked himself in the back, which in itself was kind of questionable because he likes to be very vocal and sit in front of everything. So Mary was upset, and she sent a text message to him expressing her concerns about, how slow they can be, right? And they were all in on it. So this is his response. You got to listen to his response very carefully. Jeff Bolts thinks he's creative with his wording. Mary, I didn't hear about that stuff until after the meeting. I was in the back helping with petitions. After the meeting, I was told there was a bunch of stuff on the tables, and you were running around grabbing it. I was a bit surprised since you are not even a member of the DGTRO. Like she shouldn't be there with her husband and us, right? So just listen carefully. I asked, why would Mary come as a guest to a meeting, then disrupt the meeting It makes no sense to me. So disrupting the meeting to Greg Boltz means before the meeting started, Mary went around and picked up all this crap about me, which upset him because it disrupted his plan, not the meeting. The meeting didn't even start.
Very astute
right?
point,
So
Terry.
you gotta listen to this, right? And then disrupt the meeting. It makes no sense to me. That would be like going into someone's house and tearing the place up. Get that? Going into someone's house and tearing the place up by picking up the Terry dossier off the table before the meeting.
For a public meeting.
Yeah, for a public meeting. So
Or like
this is
stealing one of his meals.
my final. So this is my final time. Let me be perfectly clear again. I had nothing to do with anything that was placed on those tables.
Liar.
Didn't even know anything about it until a couple hours later when I got phone calls. Wait a minute, did you guys hear what he said up
In
here?
the same message,
In the
you
same message,
contradicted
this
yourself.
stupid fool. I didn't hear about that stuff until after the meeting. I was I was in the back helping with petitions. And then later he said he
In the
didn't know
same
until a
text.
couple hours later.
Same text.
So I suggest, I suggested to you to just be a good person. Work hard to get conservatives elected. I never judged you, even though I heard absolutely terrible things about you. Oh my God, he slammed her up and down to me and all the time, right about all you guys.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a liar.
I heard bad things about Mary too from Greg.
Okay.
I mean, nasty, rotten things that nobody enjoyed working with you on anything because you were so disruptive. You couldn't function as a team. Your reputation for being hateful was one of the strongest I've ever heard. I could see how much it meant to you to be part of something you believed in. If I was going to be a person who brought up people's past, like mine, sorry, I control it. I would have brought yours up the minute you falsely accused me the first time. Mary, that's just not who I am. You're a lying piece of shit. I'm flawed just like everybody else in this world. I'm not the judge of anyone. You're talking to people that are telling me everything you saying, you piece of shit. Since you and I both read the Bible, here he goes again with the Bible.
Every time doesn't fail.
Here's a see, we read the Bible. Here's a scripture verse I find soothing because it helps me remember it's not my job to carry the burden of judgment. Then why are you telling everyone about my background? You all right.
You're doing good, Terry.
Jesus.
I'm proud of you.
Oh my God, I just lost it. Oh my God, sorry. Hold on. This is worth.
I mean,
sorry,
this is one text message. This guy is.
Yeah, he likes listening to himself.
Did you write that, Paul?
No, let me see,
Yeah,
Mary.
just
That's
said-
not who I
just said
am.
I'm
I said we
running
read
to
the
be a
well, we
politician.
read the Bible. Okay, judge not, yet be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but that considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye?
Oh, but Greg, thou
You're
shalt
such a
not
phony.
take the name of the Lord thy
Oh,
God
my
in vain,
God.
for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain.
So, I mean, give me a break. They're all involved in it. So you guys are going to see more. We're not going to waste our time. We're going to talk about things to go forward. We got other things that we're going to announce in
Solutions.
January.
Solutions.
Yeah, we're going to talk. So we just had to fight back because you know what? They don't let us speak. You know, so if Paul wins, and he said, I don't know if he said this, we discussed it. He's going to let people talk at our meetings, right?
The
It
whole
should be
point.
like that. We're all part of an organization.
That's the whole
It's not
point.
that we'd all have to agree 100% on everything. They won't let us talk. They don't want the emails. They're precious emails, right? They don't want us talking through emails. They don't want us talking openly. They want us all to follow lockstep and order. And hey, if somebody wants to give to a Democrat, let them. If somebody wants to give to Kim Fox, let them. If somebody wants to vote against us for Amendment 1, let them. If somebody doesn't want to speak up about porn because they don't want to upset the Democrats, let them.
But your
That's
job
ridiculous.
is to vote for those people, and your job is to advocate for them because they've got a red R in
Well-
front of their name.
One of the things you really have to realize about an organization like this is since it's a volunteer organization, you have to provide the binding energy as the leader to
And
keep people
don't
engaged.
People don't have.
You can't be pushing them away.
That room's got no energy.
None.
That
Yeah.
room's got no
Zero.
energy. The best energy I saw was when we spoke in front of them, saying that
people
hey,
came alive.
Oh, it was great. It was great.
We're
And
not
that was the one thing. You were a threat. Both of you. You got standing ovation. And don't think that didn't threaten the leadership.
We're not getting paid for this. We're not getting paid for this. Terry hasn't gotten paid for the last 3 years of his life where he's gone out there and stuck his neck out there, at school board meetings and bringing posters with gender queer in front of public officials and saying, hey, do you advocate for this? No, he gets screamed at. He gets yelled at. He gets called a radical. He gets called a bigot. He gets the cops sent to his house. He gets doxxed by people.
FBI.
FBI.
Feel like I'm back in the 80s again.
So, I mean, and I'm not getting paid for this. I like doing this. I don't have any political ambition. But if nobody's going to step up to the plate, I will. Because after September 11th, I mean, I was a young, dumb kid, but I knew, like, hey, I appreciate my upbringing. I appreciate the freedom
country.
that I have. I love my country. I love my country. And people attacked my country.
So
somebody's got to step up to the plate. So,
So
that's
what
all
we're,
I want to do.
what we're asking people that are watching. So we know our enemies are watching, right? And that's why we're
good.
speaking probably a little bit
good.
more. It's for you guys,
want
right?
them
We're
to
speaking
watch.
to you, our enemies. But there's a lot of people that are on the fence, right, or scared about change. The only way we're going to make change is by getting new people in there that appreciate what it's like to be a Republican, represent your values, speak openly, speak
up.
openly about what
Speak it
you
up.
think, right? What all of us think, how we should act. We shouldn't have people telling us how we should think, right? And that's what's happening right now. We should take everybody's opinions and we should get people that represent us, our children, the values. And if you have to gravitate towards being a Democrat, well, then you know what? You should maybe consider being a Democrat. So that's all I have to say. Do you want to say something closing?
I just think that they stepped in a big time when they put that dossier out there, the Newsom dossier, because a lot of people, when they saw that, they realized if they can do it to you, they can do it to me.
Yeah.
And they're coming after your
Newsom
seat.
Gates.
Yeah, they're coming after my commitments.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And yours. And yours.
In my seat. Of
And
course, they're
yours,
coming
yeah,
after my
yeah.
seat.
And
Newsom
that's
Gate.
okay.
Newsom Gate.
I
There
don't
was no
mind.
pictures from a hotel in Russia, by the way.
No Russian hookers in your past?
Oh, wait.
I just
Well, then you can live a good life.
Does Ukraine count?
these guys are always ragging on me for talking too much. So the only thing I'll say is, the only reason I really want to run is to give people a voice. We don't have a voice right now, as Terry said. Like, we're never going to make any changes unless everybody gets to speak up and say what they think. So
Thank you, everybody. Please help us. Help us. We're fighting for our kids.
All right, hold on. We're getting out of here.
Every time we pull up, you see stars, you see stripes, you see flags on the cars and the trucks and the bikes. Every time we pull up, we go hard, we outside, we got flags on our arms that are tatted there for life. Every time we pull up, we don't care if you mad. We cherish this land, the haters can't get buried in rags. They set fire to old glory, turning fabric to ash. But every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is America.